After my wife disappeared, I got a new job, and the same rideshare driver drives me home every night. I always brought him coffee. One night he was driving down my street and said, "Don't go home tonight. They're watching you. Just trust me." The next morning, I learned the truth. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning, where all good lies do. My wife vanished on a Tuesday. Not dramatically. Not with police sirens or search parties or candlelight vigils. She just stopped being there. One morning I woke up and the other side of the bed was cold, the bathroom empty, her phone gone. The coffee maker she always started before I got up sat silent on the counter. I called her cell, voicemail. I called her sister in Portland, no answer. I stood in our kitchen for 20 minutes, holding my phone, staring at the back door like she might walk through it carrying groceries and laughing at my panic. She didn't. By noon, my son was at the house. "Dad, we need to talk." Trevor, my only child. 32 years old, married 3 years to a woman who smiled too much and never blinked enough. He worked in corporate something, I could never keep track, and lived in a house that cost more than I'd made in a decade. He drove a Tesla. He wore watches that cost 4 months of my mortgage. He sat at my kitchen table and explained very calmly that his mother had been struggling, mentally, emotionally, that she'd been talking to her therapist about needing space, that she'd left a note. "What note?" I asked. He showed me his phone, a text message from her number. "I need time. Please don't look for me. I'm safe. Tell your father I'm sorry." I stared at those words until they stopped making sense. "Where is she?" "She didn't say." "Did you call the police?" "Dad." He put his hand on mine. It felt wrong, too warm, too steady. "She's an adult. She has the right to leave. The police won't do anything if there's no sign of foul play." Foul play. I repeated the words like I was learning a new language. I know this is hard, but we have to respect her wishes. I wanted to argue, to scream, to flip the table and throw him out of my house, but I didn't, because some part of me, some stupid, trusting part, believed him, believed that she'd left me, that after 34 years of marriage, she'd decided I wasn't worth a conversation. That's how it starts, with belief. Trevor stayed for 3 hours. He made calls. He talked to people I couldn't hear. He ordered food I didn't eat. His wife showed up around 5, carrying a casserole I never asked for and sympathy I didn't want. "We're here for you," she said. Her name was Diane. She had the kind of beauty that looked expensive. Perfect teeth, perfect hair. The kind of woman who made you feel poor just by standing in your living room. "I'm fine," I told her. "You're not," she said, and somehow that felt more like a diagnosis than comfort. They left at 8. Trevor promised to call the next day. He did. And the day after that. And the day after that. Within a week, he'd convinced me to see a grief counselor. Within 2 weeks, he'd helped me apply for a new job. Within a month, I'd sold the house. I didn't want to sell the house. That was our house, where we'd raised Trevor. But Trevor explained very patiently that the mortgage was too much for one income, that the memories would crush me, that a fresh start was exactly what I needed. He found me an apartment, a 1-bedroom in a complex 20 minutes from my new job. Clean, affordable, anonymous. "It's temporary," he said, "just until you get back on your feet." I signed the lease. The new job was in accounts receivable for a mid-sized logistics company. 40 hours a week that somehow turned into 50, then 60. My manager, a woman named Rita with a voice like gravel and a smile like a warning, loved to remind me how lucky I was to have this opportunity at my age. "Most places won't even interview someone over 50, she'd say, tapping her pen against her desk. "We believe in second chances here." I was 56. I worked late most nights. Not because I loved the job, but because going home to that apartment felt like walking into a stranger's life. The walls were beige, the carpet was beige, even the light fixtures seemed beige. Everything smelled like industrial cleaning solution and someone else's cooking. I ordered rideshares to get home. The bus route was unreliable after 8, and I'd sold my car to help cover moving costs. Trevor's idea. That's when I met Eddie. Eddie was my driver 4 nights out of 5. I don't know if it was coincidence or algorithm or fate, but his face became as familiar as my own reflection. Mid-40s, balding, with the kind of gut that said he'd given up on impressing anyone. He drove a Honda Civic that smelled like vanilla air freshener and old French fries. He never played music. He never made small talk. He just drove. After the first week, I started bringing him coffee. There was a shop 2 blocks from my office that stayed open until 10. Good coffee. The kind that tasted like someone gave a damn. I'd order 2, 1 black for him, 1 with cream for me, and carry them both to the pickup spot. The first time I handed him the cup, he looked at it like I'd offered him a live grenade. "It's just coffee," I said. He took it. "Thanks." That was it. No performance, no fake gratitude, just the transaction. I liked that. It became routine, Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday. Eddie would pull up, I'd climb into the back seat with 2 coffees, and he'd drive me home in silence. Sometimes he'd glance at me in the rearview mirror. Most times he didn't. The route never changed. Down Marshall Street, left on Foster, right on Pine, straight through the old industrial district, then up the hill to my apartment complex. 17 minutes on a good night, 23 in traffic. I memorized every stoplight, every pothole, every building, the coffee shop with the chipped awning, the pawn shop with bars on the windows, the church with the sign that said, "Faith is not about everything turning out okay. Faith is about being okay no matter how things turn out." I hated that sign. Trevor called every Sunday, same time, 6 p.m. He'd ask how I was doing, if I needed anything, if I'd talk to the grief counselor. I'd say, fine, no, and yes. He'd tell me about his week, business trips, client meetings, Diane's yoga classes. Never about his mother. I asked once, 3 months after she left. "Have you heard from her?" Silence. Then, "No, Dad, I haven't." "Do you know where she is?" "No." "Do you care?" More silence. "Of course I care. But I also care about you, and right now you're the one who needs support." He was good at that, turning my questions into concern for me. I stopped asking. Work consumed me. Rita piled projects on my desk like she was testing how much weight I could carry before I broke. I didn't break, I just bent. Invoices, spreadsheets, client calls that should have been emails. Late nights became normal nights. Eddie's car became my confessional. I never confessed anything. I just sat there, drinking my coffee, watching the city slide past the window, but there was something about that space, the back seat of a stranger's car in the dark, that felt safe, anonymous, like I could disappear into it. One night, about 4 months after my wife vanished, Eddie took a different route. I noticed immediately. We were on Marshall, coming up on the Foster turn, when he kept going straight. "You missed the turn," I said. "I know." "Where are we going?" "Your place, just a different way." I watched the streets change. We passed through neighborhoods I'd never seen. Quiet houses, empty parks, the kind of streets where people still left their porch lights on. "Why the detour?" I asked. He didn't answer for a full minute. Then, "Road construction. Faster this way." I didn't see any construction signs. But I didn't argue. Eddie had been driving me for months. If he said it was faster, I believed him. We pulled into my apartment complex 15 minutes later. He stopped at the curb near my building. "Thanks for the coffee," he said. "Yeah." I got out, walked to my door, unlocked it, stepped inside. The apartment was exactly as I'd left it. Beige walls, empty kitchen, the TV remote on the coffee table where I'd dropped it that morning. I stood in the doorway for a long time, holding my keys, feeling like I'd walked into a stage set. This wasn't my life, but it was the life I was living. I microwaved a frozen dinner, ate half of it, threw the rest away, took a shower, lay in bed staring at the ceiling until exhaustion dragged me under. The next morning, Trevor called. "Hey, Dad, just checking in?" "I'm fine." "Good. Listen, Diane and I were talking. We think you should come over for dinner this weekend. It's been too long." It had been 2 weeks. "Sure," I said. "Great. Saturday at 6, I'll text you the address." He hung up before I could ask why he needed to text me his own address. I'd been to their house a dozen times. Work was worse than usual that day. Rita called me into her office at 9 and spent 20 minutes explaining why I needed to stay until midnight to finish a report that wasn't due for another week. I didn't argue. I just nodded and went back to my desk. By the time I left, it was 12:30. Eddie was waiting. I climbed into the back seat with 2 coffees. He took his without a word. We drove in silence. Same route as always. Down Marshall, left on Foster, right on Pine. Except when we got to my street, he didn't turn. He kept driving. "Eddie, you missed the turn." "I know. Where are we going?" He met my eyes in the rearview mirror. For the first time in 4 months, I saw something in his face. Not emotion, exactly. More like recognition. Like he'd been waiting for this moment. "Don't go home tonight," he said. My stomach dropped. "What?" "They're watching you. Just trust me." "Who's watching me?" He didn't answer. He just kept driving. Away from my street. Away from my apartment. into neighborhoods I didn't recognize. Eddie, stop the car. I can't do that. He pulled over. Side street. No lights, no houses nearby. Just the kind of place where bad things happen and nobody hears. I grabbed the door handle. Listen to me, he said, turning in his seat. His voice was calm. Too calm. There's a car parked across from your building. Dark sedan. 2 people inside. They've been there for 3 hours. They're waiting for you. How do you know that? Because I drove past an hour ago and saw them, and I've seen that car before. Where? Doesn't matter. What matters is you don't go home tonight. I stared at him. This man I'd shared coffee with for 4 months. This stranger who knew my routine better than anyone. Why would someone be watching me? He turned back to the wheel. I don't know, but you need to figure it out before you go back. This is insane. Maybe, but I'm telling you what I saw. I sat there for a long time, my hand still on the door handle, my heart pounding in my ears. Where do I go? Anywhere but home. He drove me to a motel off the highway, the kind with hourly rates and a clerk who didn't ask questions. I paid cash, climbed 3 flights of stairs to a room that smelled like cigarettes and regret. I sat on the bed, stared at my phone. Trevor's last text was still on the screen. Saturday at 6, looking forward to it. I called him. Voicemail. I called Diane. Voicemail. I lay back on the stiff mattress and stared at the water-stained ceiling. My phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. We know you're not home. I dropped the phone like it had burned me. I didn't sleep that night. The motel room had 1 window. I kept the curtain closed, but light bled through the edges, turning the darkness gray. I sat in a chair by the door, phone in my hand, staring at that text message until the words lost meaning. We know you're not home. I'd tried calling the number, blocked. I'd tried texting back, no response. I'd considered calling the police, but what would I say? Someone sent me a vague text and I'm scared? I was 56 years old. I'd worked 40 years, paid taxes, obeyed laws. I'd never been in trouble, never been paranoid, never been the kind of person who saw conspiracies and coincidences. But my wife had vanished without explanation. My son had rebuilt my life like I was an incompetent child. And now a stranger was telling me I was being watched. None of this was coincidence. At 6 a.m., I called in sick to work. Rita answered on the 3rd ring, her voice already irritated. This is extremely inconvenient timing, she said. I'm sorry. I'll be back tomorrow. You'd better be. We're already short-staffed. She hung up. I ordered a rideshare, not Eddie this time, and went back to my apartment. Daylight made everything feel safer. The sedan was gone. The parking lot was full of normal people doing normal things, walking dogs, loading groceries, living lives that made sense. My apartment looked untouched, no signs of entry, no warnings spray-painted on the walls, just the same beige emptiness I'd left 12 hours ago. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, opened my laptop. I started searching. My wife's name first. Nothing new. The same handful of social media accounts she'd abandoned years ago. The same old photos. The same mentions in church newsletters and PTA minutes from when Trevor was in school. Then I searched for Trevor. LinkedIn showed his job history, corporate finance, 3 promotions in 5 years. Current position, senior financial analyst at Redfield Acquisitions. I clicked through to the company website, stock photos of diverse people in suits, shaking hands, smiling at laptops. The kind of site that said nothing and everything at once. I searched for Diane, less information. A Facebook account set to private. An Instagram with 8 posts, all from 2 years ago. Interior design. Brunch plates? A photo of her and Trevor at some charity gala, both of them dressed like they'd stepped out of a magazine. I searched for myself. Public records. The sale of my house. The purchase 6 years ago. My divorce from Trevor's mother. Wait. I read that line again. Divorce. Filed 4 months ago. Finalized 3 weeks ago. I wasn't divorced. I grabbed my phone. Called Trevor. Voicemail again. I left a message this time, trying to keep my voice steady. Trevor, it's Dad. I need you to call me back. Right now, it's important. I called Diane. Voicemail. I called Trevor's office. A receptionist with a voice like honey told me he was in meetings all day. Can you give him a message? Of course. Tell him his father needs to talk to him immediately. It's an emergency. I'll let him know. She wouldn't. I spent the next hour going through every piece of paper in my apartment. Bills. Bank statements, the lease I'd signed, everything Trevor had helped me organize after the move. I found the divorce papers in a folder labeled Important Documents, filed in the county courthouse, both signatures present. Mine looked real. Hers looked real. Neither of us had signed them. My hands were shaking. I set the papers on the table and stared at them like they might confess. This was legal, official. Someone had forged these documents, filed them with the court, and made them real. The question was why. I called a divorce attorney, the first one who answered. "I need to know if I'm divorced," I said. The lawyer, a woman named Patricia with a voice like she'd heard every story twice, asked for my information. I gave her everything. She put me on hold. Came back 3 minutes later. "According to county records, yes. Your divorce was finalized on October 8th. I didn't file for divorce. Do you have a copy of the papers?" "Yes, but I didn't sign them." Silence. Then, "That's a serious allegation. If you believe your signature was forged, you'll need to file a fraud claim with the court. But I have to warn you, proving forgery is difficult, especially if the signature looks authentic." "What about my wife? Can I talk to her?" "Do you have her contact information?" "No." "Then I can't help you. If she was represented by an attorney, their information should be on the filing." I looked at the papers. Attorney's name, Vincent Ross. Firm, Ross and Delaney. Phone number included. "Thank you," I said, and hung up. I called Ross and Delaney, got a receptionist, asked for Vincent Ross. "May I ask what this is regarding?" "A divorce case he handled. I'm the other party." "One moment." I waited and waited. 5 minutes passed. Finally, a man's voice. Deep, confident. "This is Vincent Ross. My name is... I know who you are. What can I do for you?" "You represented my wife in our divorce." "That's correct. I need to talk to her. I'm not at liberty to provide my client's contact information. I didn't agree to this divorce." "According to the paperwork, you did." "I didn't sign those papers." "Sir, if you're alleging fraud, you'll need to take that up with the court. I'm not the appropriate person to... Where is she?" Silence. "Mr. Ross, where is my wife?" "I can't answer that. Can't or won't." "Both. Now, if there's nothing else, did you meet her in person? Did you talk to her?" Another pause, longer this time. "All communication was handled through a third party." "What third party?" "I'm not at liberty to say. Have a good day." He hung up. I sat there, phone in my hand, staring at nothing. Someone had orchestrated this. Filed papers, forged signatures, hired a lawyer, made it legal, made it real, and the only person who'd been managing my life since my wife disappeared was Trevor. I wanted to be wrong, wanted to believe there was some explanation that didn't make my son a criminal. But the math was simple. He'd convinced me to sell the house, to move, to take a job that kept me isolated, to stop asking questions. He'd rebuilt my life into something he could control. The question was why. I spent the rest of the day searching. Bank records, credit reports, every document I could access. Everything looked normal, too normal. My accounts were stable, my credit was fine, no mysterious charges, no missing money. But when I looked closer, I noticed patterns, small transfers, $50 here, $100 there, always to the same account. An account I didn't recognize. Over 4 months, it added up to almost $12,000. I called my bank, explained I was seeing charges I didn't authorize. The representative, a man who sounded like he was reading from a script, pulled up my account. "These are automatic transfers you set up in July." "I didn't set those up." "According to our records, you did. You authorized them through our online portal." "I never use your online portal." "Sir, if you believe there's been fraudulent activity, you'll need to file a dispute. I can transfer you to our fraud department." "Do that." I spent 2 hours on the phone with 3 different people, explaining the same thing over and over. By the end, they'd agreed to investigate. The transfers would continue until the investigation concluded. Standard procedure. I hung up and threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall. Didn't break. Trevor called at 8 p.m. "Hey, Dad. Sorry I missed your call. Crazy day." I wanted to scream at him, wanted to accuse him, wanted to demand answers. But something stopped me, some instinct I didn't know I had. If Trevor was behind this, confronting him would only make things worse. I needed to know more, needed to understand the full picture before I acted. So I lied. "No worries. I just wanted to confirm Saturday dinner." "Oh, yeah, we're still on. 6 o'clock. "Great, I'll be there." "Everything okay, Dad? You sound stressed." "Just work stuff, nothing major." "You sure? Because if you need anything..." "I'm fine, Trevor, really." "Okay, we'll see you Saturday." He hung up. I stood in my kitchen, phone in my hand. and realized I just played a role, pretended everything was fine, lied to my own son because I was afraid of what he might do if he knew I was suspicious. When did that become normal? I ordered dinner, pizza, ate 3 slices standing at the counter, threw the rest in the fridge. My phone buzzed, a text from Eddie. "You okay?" I stared at the message. Eddie had never texted me before. I didn't even know he had my number. "How did you get this number?" I typed. "Rideshare app. You okay?" "How did you know about the car last night?" 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Can we talk?" Not over text. "When?" "Tomorrow night. After work. I'll pick you up." "Okay. Don't tell anyone." The dots disappeared. I looked at that last message for a long time. Don't tell anyone. Like I had anyone to tell. I went to work the next day, sat at my desk, stared at spreadsheets, answered emails. Rita stopped by at lunch to remind me how lucky I was to work there. I smiled. Said thank you. Went back to my computer. Everything felt like performance. By 8 p.m., I was done. I grabbed my coat, walked out to the pickup spot, ordered a ride. Eddie's car pulled up 3 minutes later. I climbed in with 2 coffees. Handed him one. "Thanks," he said. We drove in silence for 5 minutes. Then he pulled into an empty parking lot behind a closed grocery store. "Why are we stopping?" I asked. He turned in his seat, looked at me directly. "Because I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen without interrupting." "Okay." I used to work for a company that installed tracking devices, GPS, audio, the kind of stuff private investigators use. I did it for 3 years. Good money, no questions asked. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I recognize the signs, and your son's car has one." My stomach dropped. "You're sure?" "I've seen it. Tesla Model S, right? Black, custom plates?" I nodded. "There's a tracker under the rear bumper. Professional install, not the cheap kind you buy online, the kind that costs $2,000 and updates every 30 seconds. "How do you know it's there?" "Because I saw him at a service center 6 months ago. I was there picking up a fare. He was getting something installed. I recognized the company logo on the installer's shirt." "You remember this from 6 months ago?" "I remember because I thought it was weird. Guy like him doesn't need a tracker on his own car. Which means it's not for him?" I felt cold. "Who's it for?" "You tell me. Who drives that car besides him?" "His wife." "There you go. He's tracking his wife? Or she's tracking him, or someone else installed it. I don't know. But that tracker's there." I leaned back in my seat, closed my eyes. "The car I saw outside your building," Eddie continued. "It belongs to a surveillance company. I recognize the plates. They do contract work, investigations, background checks, the kind of services people hire when they want to know everything about someone." "Someone hired them to watch me?" "Looks like it." "How do you know all this?" He shrugged. "I pay attention, and I've been in this business long enough to recognize patterns." "Why are you helping me?" He took a sip of coffee. "Because I've been where you are, not exactly, but close enough, and nobody helped me. So I figure maybe I can help you." "What happened to you?" "Doesn't matter. What matters is you figure out who's watching you and why before they make their move." "Their move?" "People don't hire surveillance unless they're building a case. Legal, financial, custody, doesn't matter. They're gathering evidence, and once they have enough, they act." I sat there, processing. "You think Trevor hired them?" "I don't know your family dynamics, but yeah, that's what I think." "Why would he do that?" "Money, control, revenge, take your pick." I wanted to argue, wanted to defend my son, but I couldn't, because everything Eddie was saying made sense. "What do I do?" I asked. "First, you stop acting normal. Stop going to work on time. Stop taking the same routes. Stop being predictable. Make them work for it." "Then what?" "Then you figure out what they want, and you take it away before they get it." He started the car, drove me home, dropped me at the curb. "Be careful," he said. I got out, walked to my apartment, unlocked the door. The lights were on. I hadn't left them on. I stepped inside slowly. The apartment looked the same. Nothing moved, nothing out of place, but the air felt different, like someone had been here, like I was walking into a space that wasn't mine anymore. I checked every room, closets, bathroom, under the bed, nothing. But when I went into the kitchen, I saw it. The folder of divorce papers I'd left on the table was gone. I stood there, staring at the empty table, my heart pounding. Someone had been in my apartment. Someone had taken the evidence, and they wanted me to know. I didn't go inside my apartment. Instead, I walked. Rain soaked through my jacket, my jeans, my shoes. I walked until my feet hurt, and my teeth chattered, and I couldn't feel my fingers. Mitchell Gray's words echoed in my head. Mental incompetence, inability to manage your own affairs, financial irresponsibility. Trevor was building a legal case, guardianship, the kind where I'd lose control of everything, my money, my decisions, my life, the kind where he'd make choices for me, sign documents for me, put me somewhere safe, an assisted living community, where meals were provided, activities organized, healthcare on site, a prison with a nice name. I stopped under an awning outside a closed dry cleaner, pulled out my phone, searched adult guardianship laws, pages of results, legal firms, elder law attorneys, advocacy groups warning about guardianship abuse. I clicked the first article. Guardianship grants legal authority over an adult who can no longer make decisions for themselves. Common reasons include dementia, mental illness, addiction, or severe cognitive decline. Once guardianship is granted, the ward loses most legal rights, including the right to vote, marry, make medical decisions, or control finances. I kept reading. To establish guardianship, the petitioner must prove the proposed ward is incapacitated. Evidence typically includes medical evaluations, testimony from family members, and documentation of concerning behaviors such as financial mismanagement, self-neglect, or inability to maintain employment. Financial mismanagement, like losing track of $350,000. Self-neglect, like working too many hours and not eating well. Inability to maintain employment, like making errors and missing deadlines. Trevor had been building this case for months. Every phone call checking on me, every conversation about my stress, every suggestion to see a doctor. He'd been creating a narrative, and Rita, my manager, had helped, whether she knew it or not. I searched for her contact information, found the company directory, called her cell. She answered on the fourth ring, annoyed. It's Saturday. Did Trevor call you? Who? My son. Trevor. Pause. Why would your son call me? Did he? I don't have to answer that. Did he ask about my performance? I'm hanging up. Wait, please, I just need to know. She sighed. Yes. He called, said he was worried about you, asked if I'd noticed any changes in your behavior. What did you tell him? The truth, that you've been distracted, that your work quality has slipped, that you seem exhausted. Did he ask you to document it? Longer pause. Look, I don't know what's going on with your family, but I'm not getting involved. You already are involved. She hung up. Rita had given Trevor exactly what he needed. Professional testimony about my declining performance, evidence of stress, proof I couldn't handle my responsibilities. And I'd made it easy, working late, looking tired, being distracted because my wife had vanished and my life had been dismantled. I'd walked right into it. I started walking again. No destination, just movement. After 30 minutes, I found myself outside a 24-hour diner. Went inside because I needed to be somewhere warm. The place was nearly empty. A waitress in her 60s with tired eyes took my order. Coffee, pancakes. I didn't want food, but sitting without ordering felt wrong. I pulled out the business card Mitchell Gray had given me, turned it over. Nothing on the back. Just his name, number, and the word licensed. A private investigator telling me to document everything. But document what? I'd already lost the divorce papers once. My phone had been compromised. My apartment wasn't safe. I needed somewhere to keep evidence that Trevor couldn't access. The waitress brought coffee. I wrapped my hands around the cup, letting the heat sink into my frozen fingers. Eddie. I needed to talk to Eddie. I pulled out my phone, texted him. Can we meet? 3 dots appeared immediately. When? Now. Where? I gave him the diner's address. He arrived 20 minutes later. Came in shaking rain off his jacket. Sat across from me in the booth. The waitress brought him coffee without asking. You look like hell, he said. I feel worse. What happened? I told him everything. Dinner at Trevor's, the conversation about assisted living, the confrontation, Mitchell Gray in the parking lot, the guardianship plan. Eddie listened without interrupting. When I finished, he took a long drink of coffee. Okay, he said. So he's going for full control. Yeah. And he's got documentation, medical opinions, professional testimony. Yeah. What do you have? Nothing. He took the divorce papers, deleted the photos. My manager's cooperating with him. I can't prove anything. So get proof? How? Eddie leaned forward. I told you I used to install trackers. That's not all I did. I also installed cameras, audio equipment, the kind of stuff people use when they're paranoid about nannies or cheating spouses or business partners. What are you saying? I'm saying if Trevor's planning something, he's talking about it. And if he's talking about it, we can record it. That's illegal. So is breaking into your apartment and stealing your documents. Two wrongs don't make a right. Maybe not, but one recording makes evidence. I stared at him. You want me to bug my son's house. I want you to protect yourself, however you can. I can't do that. Why not? Because he's my son. He's also trying to have you declared incompetent and locked away, so I'll ask again. Why not? I didn't have a good answer. Eddie pulled out his phone, typed something, showed me the screen, an online store, audio recorders, tiny devices you could hide in pens, clocks, wall outlets. Prices ranged from $50 to $500. You don't need to install anything permanent, Eddie said. Just bring something with you next time you visit. A phone charger, a book, something small with a recorder inside. Leave it there. Pick it up later. What if they find it? They won't if you're smart. And if they do, then you're no worse off than you are now. The waitress refilled our coffee. We waited until she left. I can't do this, I said. Yes, you can. It feels wrong. So does stealing $350,000 from your father. He had a point. Even if I get a recording, I said, what then? I take it to court? I expose my son as a thief? If that's what it takes, yeah. He's still my son. And you're still his father, but he stopped treating you like one. So you need to decide what matters more, your relationship with him or your freedom. I looked out the window. Rain streaked the glass, turning the streetlights into blurred halos. I need to think about it, I said. Don't think too long. Once he files for guardianship, you'll have a short window to fight it. After that, it's over. How do you know so much about this? He took another drink of coffee. My father went through it. His girlfriend convinced him to sign power of attorney, then she drained his accounts and moved him into a nursing home. By the time my sister and I found out, it was too late. He died 6 months later. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just don't let it happen to you. We sat in silence for a few minutes. I'll think about it, I said finally. Good. Eddie paid for both our coffees. Offered to drive me home. I accepted. The ride was quiet. When we pulled up to my apartment complex, he handed me a piece of paper. What's this? Website for those recorders. And my cousin's number. He runs a legal aid clinic. If you need help, call him. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just be smart. I got out. Walked to my apartment. This time, the sedan was gone. Inside, I locked the door, checked every room. Everything looked normal, but normal didn't mean safe anymore. I opened my laptop, went to the website Eddie had shown me, looked at audio recorders. Pen recorder. Looks like a regular ballpoint pen. 16 gigabyte storage. Voice activated. $89. USB charger recorder. Functions as a real charger. 32 gigabyte storage. Continuous recording. $149. I added both to my cart. Stared at the checkout button. If I did this, there was no going back. I'd be actively spying on my son. Recording him without consent. Possibly breaking laws. But if I didn't, he'd have me declared incompetent. Then take everything. Lock me away somewhere I couldn't fight back. I clicked checkout. Entered my credit card information. Selected expedited shipping. The confirmation email arrived 30 seconds later. Delivery Monday. I closed the laptop. Sat in the dark. Tomorrow was Sunday. Trevor would probably call. Act like nothing happened. Apologize for Diane's behavior. Suggest we talk things through. And I'd have to play along. Pretend I believed him. Pretend I wasn't planning anything. 2 days until the recorders arrived. Then I'd go back to Trevor's house, leave one there, retrieve it later, and whatever was on that recording would tell me the truth, or confirm what I already knew. I went to bed but didn't sleep. Just lay there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the invisible line I was about to cross. Trevor had crossed it first, months ago, when he decided I was an obstacle instead of a father. Now I was crossing it too, and on the other side was either freedom or proof that my son was lost forever. Trevor didn't call Sunday. I spent the day waiting for my phone to ring, jumping every time a notification chimed, but nothing came. By evening, I realized the silence was intentional. He was letting me stew, letting me doubt myself, letting the paranoia build until I questioned my own memory. It was working. I checked my bank accounts again. The transfers had stopped. Maybe the fraud investigation had finally kicked in. Or maybe Trevor knew I was on to him and had paused to avoid suspicion. I searched my email for anything from the bank. Found a message from Friday. Your fraud claim is under review. Please allow 5 to 7 business days for investigation. Another week of waiting. Another week of Trevor staying one step ahead. Monday morning, I went to work. Rita was already at her desk when I arrived, typing furiously, her expression set in permanent disapproval. You're late, she said without looking up. I checked my watch. 5 minutes past 9. Sorry. Traffic. We need to talk. My office. 10 minutes. She didn't wait for a response. Just kept typing. I sat at my desk, opened my computer, tried to focus on spreadsheets. The numbers swam. My mind kept circling back to Trevor, the divorce papers, the missing money, the guardianship plan. At 9:10, I went to Rita's office. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. I sat. I received a concerning phone call over the weekend, she said. From who? Your son. Again. What did he want? He wanted to discuss your performance. He's worried about you. I'm fine. Are you? Because your work quality has declined significantly. You're missing deadlines, making errors, and frankly, you don't seem present. I've had a difficult few months. I understand that. But this is a workplace, not a therapy session. We need employees who can perform. Are you firing me? She leaned back. Not yet, but I am putting you on a performance improvement plan. 30 days. If your work doesn't improve, we'll have to reevaluate your position here. A PIP. Yes? Because my son called you. Because your performance has declined. Your son calling only confirmed what I was already seeing. Right. She handed me a packet. This outlines expectations, deadlines, and review criteria. Read it, sign it, return it to me by end of day. I took the packet. Didn't look at it. One more thing, Rita said. Your son mentioned you might benefit from speaking with our employee assistance program. It's confidential. They can help with personal issues. I don't need help. Consider it anyway. The number's in the packet. She turned back to her computer. Conversation over. I went back to my desk, opened the packet, read the first page. Performance Improvement Plan. Employee has demonstrated concerning patterns, including missed deadlines, decreased attention to detail, and apparent difficulty managing workload. Improvement must be shown in all areas within 30 days, or termination will be recommended. I set it down, stared at my computer screen. Trevor had just given them ammunition, more documentation, more proof I was struggling, more evidence for his guardianship case, and Rita had handed it to him wrapped in corporate policy. At lunch, I checked the tracking for my package. Out for delivery, should arrive by 5 p.m. I left work at 4:30, told Rita I had a doctor's appointment. She gave me a look that said she didn't believe me but let me go anyway. The package was sitting outside my door when I got home. I grabbed it, locked myself inside, opened it on the kitchen table. 2 boxes. The pen recorder and the USB charger recorder. I opened the pen first. Looked exactly like a regular ballpoint. Wrote like one too. But inside was a microphone sensitive enough to pick up conversations from 15 feet away. Voice activated. Would only record when someone was talking. The USB charger looked identical to 1,000 others. Plugged into a wall outlet, actually charged phones. But it also recorded everything within 20 feet. Continuous recording until the memory filled or the battery died. I tested both. Recorded myself talking, played it back, crystal clear. These would work. I just needed an excuse to go back to Trevor's house. I didn't have to wait long. My phone rang at 6. Trevor. Hey, Dad. I wanted to apologize about Saturday. Okay. Diane shouldn't have said those things. She was out of line. Was she wrong? Pause. What do you mean? About me being confused, forgetful. Was she wrong? I think you're going through a rough time, that's all. Right. Listen, can you come over tomorrow night? I want to show you those bank statements. Prove the money's there. Too easy. He was baiting me. What time? I asked. 7? I'll be there. Great. And Dad? Let's just start fresh, okay? No more accusations, no more fighting. Sure. He hung up. I sat there holding my phone, knowing this was a trap. He'd show me statements, probably fake ones, probably printed from a carefully crafted forgery, and then he'd watch my reaction, see if I believed him, see if I was still a threat. But I'd be recording everything. I spent the rest of the evening preparing. Charged the USB recorder fully, made sure the pen recorder worked, practiced my act in the bathroom mirror, concerned but trusting, Confused but compliant. The perfect mark. Tuesday, work was worse. Rita hovered. Checked my progress twice before lunch. Made comments about my focus issues. I kept my head down, did my work, signed her stupid PIP form, avoided everyone. At 5, I left. Grabbed a rideshare, not Eddie, and went home. Changed clothes, put the pen recorder in my jacket pocket, slipped the USB charger into my bag along with my phone. At 6:30, I ordered another ride. The driver was a college kid who talked the entire way about his econ class. I let him talk. Trevor's house looked the same. Lights on, Tesla in the driveway, Lexus beside it. I paid the driver, walked up the stone path, knocked. Diane answered. Same perfect smile, same empty eyes. Come in. Trevor's in his office. He'll be right out. I stepped inside, followed her to the living room. Can I get you something to drink? Water's fine. She left. I looked around. Where to leave the charger? There, behind the couch, an outlet near the floor, partially hidden by the furniture. I moved quickly, pulled the charger from my bag, plugged it in. It lit up, looked exactly like a real charger. I left my phone unplugged beside it. Diane returned with water, handed it to me. Trevor said you two are starting fresh tonight. That's the plan. Good. He's been worried about you. So everyone keeps saying. Trevor came downstairs carrying a folder, sat across from me, opened it. Okay, Dad, here are the statements. He handed me several pages. Bank account statements. My name, an account number I didn't recognize. Balance, $347,000. See? Trevor said. It's all there. I studied the pages. They looked real. Bank logo, official formatting, transaction history showing the house sale deposit, interest accrued monthly. I've never seen this account before, I said, because I set it up for you. I told you that. Did I sign anything? I had power of attorney at the time, because of the divorce. What divorce? He sighed. Exchanged a look with Diane. Dad, we went through this. You and Mom got divorced. I handled the paperwork. You were struggling. You asked me to help. I don't remember that. I know, that's concerning. I'm not losing my memory. Okay. His voice was patient, condescending. But you're looking at bank statements showing $347,000 and insisting you don't have the money. I want to see this account, online, right now. We can do that. He pulled out his laptop, opened it, typed, turned it toward me, a bank website, login screen. He entered a username and password. The account appeared. Same numbers as the statements, same balance. There, he said. Satisfied? I stared at the screen. It looked real, but I didn't trust it. How do I access this account? I asked. I'll give you the login information. But Dad, I need to ask. Why are you so convinced something's wrong? Because I checked my accounts. This one wasn't there. You probably looked at the wrong bank. You have accounts at 3 different institutions? It's confusing. I'm not confused. Okay. He closed the laptop. Dad, I'm going to be honest. I'm worried about you. You're paranoid. You're making accusations. You look exhausted. And your manager called me because she's concerned too. Rita shouldn't be discussing me with you. She's trying to help. We all are. But you're pushing everyone away. Because you're lying to me. Diane stood. I think we should take a break. No? Trevor stayed seated. We need to address this. Dad, do you remember signing power of attorney? I never signed that. You did, after Mom left. You were overwhelmed. You asked me to handle things. Show me the documents. I can do that. But I need you to understand something first. If you keep insisting these things didn't happen, if you keep making accusations, people are going to question your judgment. There it was, the threat underneath the concern. Are you threatening me? I asked. I'm preparing you. Because if you can't remember signing important documents, if you can't keep track of your own accounts, if you're struggling at work and making your family worry, there are legal processes, ways to make sure you're protected. Guardianship. His expression didn't change. If necessary, yes. You want to have me declared incompetent. I want to make sure you're safe. If that requires legal intervention, then yes. I'll do what needs to be done. I stood. I'm leaving. Dad? Thanks for dinner. Oh, wait, there wasn't any. I walked to the door, grabbed my jacket, realized I'd forgotten my phone. I went back to the living room. My phone was still on the floor next to the charger. I picked it up, left the charger plugged in. Forgot this, I said. Trevor stood in the archway watching me. You're making a mistake. Probably. I left, walked down the stone path, ordered a ride on my phone. The driver arrived in 3 minutes. I got in. Rough night? He asked. Something like that. We drove in silence. I sat in the back seat, shaking. Not from cold this time, from rage. Trevor had just openly threatened me. Told me to my face he'd pursue guardianship if I didn't stop fighting. But he'd also handed me exactly what I needed, because that USB charger was still plugged in behind his couch, recording everything, and I'd come back to get it, after I knew what was on it. I didn't sleep Tuesday night, just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about that USB charger plugged in behind Trevor's couch, recording every conversation, every phone call, every moment of truth my son thought was private. By Wednesday morning, I'd convinced myself to retrieve it immediately, but that was stupid, too obvious. I needed an excuse to go back, something natural, something that wouldn't raise suspicion. I went to work. Rita was waiting at my desk. We need to talk, she said. 3rd time this week. A record. I followed her to her office. She closed the door, sat behind her desk like a judge preparing to deliver a sentence. I received another call from your son, she said. Of course she had. He's very concerned about you. He mentioned you're having memory issues, confusion, paranoia. I'm not paranoid. He says you accused him of stealing from you. He did steal from me. Rita's expression hardened. I'm going to be direct. Your behavior is becoming a liability. You're making serious accusations against family members. You're struggling with basic job functions. And frankly, you don't seem mentally stable. That's not true. I think you need to take a medical leave. Get help. See a doctor. I don't need a doctor. The Employee Assistance Program. I said no. She sighed. Then I have no choice. Effective immediately, you're suspended pending a fitness for duty evaluation. You'll need to see a company-approved physician. Get a clearance stating you're mentally and physically able to perform your job. Until then, you're not allowed on company property. You're firing me. I'm protecting the company, and honestly, I'm protecting you too. You need help. I stood. This is what Trevor wanted, isn't it? He called you, told you to do this. He expressed concerns. I made my own decision. Right. I walked out. Didn't grab my things from my desk, just left. Walked through the office with everyone staring. Took the elevator down, stood on the sidewalk in the cold, wondering what the hell I was supposed to do now. My phone rang. Eddie. You free? He asked. Yeah, I just got suspended from work. Meet me at the diner. He was already there when I arrived. Same booth as before, same tired waitress bringing coffee. What happened? He asked. I told him. Rita's call from Trevor, the suspension, the fitness for duty evaluation. He's boxing you in, Eddie said, taking away your income, your credibility, building documentation that you're unstable. I know. Did you plant the recorder? Yeah, USB charger, behind his couch. It's been recording for 14 hours. When are you getting it? I don't know. I need an excuse to go back. Eddie pulled out his phone, typed something, showed me. A Facebook post from Diane's account. Posted 2 hours ago. Book club tonight at our place, 7 p.m. Bring wine and opinions. She's having people over, Eddie said. House will be busy, easy to slip in and out. I wasn't invited. So? You're his father. You don't need an invitation. They'll know something's wrong. They already know. You showed up last night, made accusations, left angry. Showing up tonight just makes you look desperate, which is what they want. He had a point. Come at 7:30, Eddie continued. Book club will be in full swing. Lots of people. Lots of noise. Grab your charger. Leave. What if they stop me? What if they do? You're picking up a phone charger you forgot, that's all. I drank my coffee, thought about it. This is insane, I said. Yeah, but so is letting your son lock you away. What if there's nothing on the recording? Then you try something else. And if there is something? Then you have proof, and proof is power. I looked out the window. Cold afternoon, gray sky. People walking past with their heads down, focused on destinations I'd never know. I'll do it, I said. Eddie nodded. Good. Want me to drive you? No, I'll get a rideshare. Blend in. Smart. We sat in silence for a few minutes. The waitress refilled our coffee. Didn't ask if we wanted food. Why are you helping me? I asked. Eddie shrugged. I told you, I've been where you are. But you don't owe me anything. Maybe not. but I like you, and I hate seeing people get screwed by their own families. What happened with your father? You said his girlfriend took everything. She did. Met him at a church group. Love-bombed him for 6 months. Convinced him to sign power of attorney so she could help with his bills. Then she drained his accounts. Moved him into a nursing home where he couldn't fight back. By the time my sister and I found out, he'd been there 3 months. We tried to get guardianship, take control back, but she'd already filed her own petition. Had doctors saying he was incompetent, had documentation. We lost. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry, just win. He paid for both coffees again. We left together. He offered to drive me home. I accepted. By Thursday morning, I had a plan. Not a good plan, not a safe plan, but a plan. I needed 3 things. First, a lawyer who'd actually fight for me. Second, documentation of everything Trevor had done. Third, a way to expose him publicly so he couldn't hide behind legal procedure. I started with the lawyer. Eddie's cousin ran a legal aid clinic. I'd ignored his number until now, but this was exactly the kind of situation that needed someone who gave a damn about justice instead of billable hours. I called at 9 a.m. A young woman answered. Legal Services Coalition. How can I help you? I need to talk to someone about guardianship fraud. 1 moment. She transferred me. 2 rings, a man's voice. This is Daniel Torres. My name is... Wait, before you tell me anything, I need to know. Did my cousin Eddie send you? Yeah. Then I'm listening. What's going on? I told him everything, start to finish. My wife's disappearance, Trevor's involvement, the forged divorce papers, the stolen money, the surveillance, the guardianship plan, the recordings. When I finished, Daniel was quiet for a long moment. You recorded these conversations without their knowledge, he said. Yes. That's illegal in this state. We're a 2-party consent jurisdiction. I know. Which means I can't use them in court. Even if they prove fraud? Especially if they prove fraud. Illegally obtained evidence is inadmissible, and you could face criminal charges for making the recordings. My stomach dropped. So I did all this for nothing. I didn't say that. I said I can't use them in court, but they still have value. How? Because they tell us what Trevor's planning, which means we can anticipate his moves, block him before he files, and maybe, if we're smart, use the information without revealing how we got it. I don't understand. Meet me at my office. Today. Bring everything. We'll figure this out. He gave me an address. Downtown. I ordered a rideshare. The Legal Services Coalition occupied the 3rd floor of an old building that smelled like coffee and old paper. Daniel Torres met me in the lobby. Early 40s, tired eyes, cheap suit. The kind of lawyer who'd chosen justice over money and regretted it every time he checked his bank balance. We went to his office. Small, cluttered, law books stacked on every surface. Okay, he said. Show me what you have. I pulled out my phone, played sections of the recordings, Trevor's voice admitting to the transfers, discussing the guardianship plan, mentioning my wife. Daniel listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. This is bad, he said. I know. No, I mean for him, not you. If even half of this is true, Trevor's committed multiple felonies. Forgery, fraud, theft. Possibly more. Can we prove it? That's the hard part. The recordings are out, but the divorce papers? Those are public record. If they're forged, we can prove it. How? Forensic document analysis. We get an expert to examine the signatures. Compare them to known samples. If they're fake, we'll have proof. How long does that take? Couple weeks, maybe less if we push. I don't have weeks. Trevor said the guardianship evaluation is next week. Daniel frowned. What evaluation? A doctor, someone named Patterson. Trevor said he's expecting cognitive decline. Dr. Patterson. I know him. He does a lot of court-ordered evaluations, and he's not exactly known for his integrity. Meaning? Meaning if someone tells him what to find, he'll find it. Can we stop the evaluation? Not if you've been court-ordered to attend, have you? I don't know. No one's told me anything official? Then they haven't filed yet, which gives us a window. Small one, but it's there. What do we do? Daniel pulled out a legal pad, started writing. First, we file a complaint with the state bar about Vincent Ross. He handled a divorce case using forged documents. That's grounds for disbarment. Even if we can't prove it immediately, the complaint creates a record, makes him nervous. Okay. Second, we request a forensic analysis of the divorce papers. I have a contact who does this work. She's expensive, but good. Can you afford it? How much? $3,000 up front. More if it goes to trial. I don't have 3,000. Then we need to find the money. Family, friends. I thought about it. My wife's sister, Jenny. She had money, not a lot, but enough. Maybe, I said. Call them. Today, we need to move fast. What else? Third, we freeze your accounts. All of them. If Trevor's still transferring money, we stop it immediately. I'll petition the court for an emergency protective order, argue financial abuse. Will that work? Maybe. Judges hate elder abuse cases. If we frame it right, we might get traction. I'm not elderly. No, but you're being treated like you are, and that's what matters. He kept writing, making lists, building strategy. Fourth, we need to document your mental competence. Get you evaluated by an independent psychologist, someone who will actually examine you instead of rubber stamping Trevor's narrative. How? I'll arrange it. Pro bono. One of my colleagues does this work. She's good. When? Tomorrow, if possible. We need her report before Trevor files his petition. I nodded. This was moving fast, maybe too fast. And fifth, Daniel said, we need to find your wife. Why? Because if she's alive and coherent, she can testify, corroborate your story, maybe even explain why she disappeared. I don't know where she is. Do you know anyone who might? I thought about the recordings. Trevor's comment. She knows. Why do you think she disappeared? Trevor might know, I said. Then we need to make him tell us. How? Daniel smiled. Not a happy smile, a lawyer's smile. We rattle his cage. He explained the plan. It was risky, possibly stupid, but it might work. We'd file everything at once. The bar complaint against Ross, the petition to freeze my accounts, the request for forensic analysis, the motion to block any guardianship filing. All of it public record. All of it visible to anyone who knew where to look. Trevor would see it immediately, and he'd panic. Panicked people make mistakes, Daniel said. They rush, they overreach, they expose themselves, or they disappear. Then we'll know where we stand. I left Daniel's office at noon with a list of things to do. Call Jenny, get her to wire money, schedule the psych evaluation, provide writing samples for the handwriting analysis. I called Jenny from the parking lot. I need your help, I said. What's wrong? I need $3,000. Silence. Then, for what? I explained. Not everything, just enough. Trevor's theft, the forged divorce papers, the lawyer who could help. Oh my God, she said. Are you serious? Yes. Trevor wouldn't do that. He's your son. He did it, Jenny. I have proof. What proof? I can't explain over the phone, but I need the money. Will you help? Long silence. Send me the lawyer's information. I'll call him. If he's legit, I'll wire the money today. Thank you. But if this is some kind of misunderstanding, it's not. Then why would Trevor do this? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. She hung up. I called Daniel, gave him Jenny's number. He said he'd handle it. Then I went home, made coffee, sat at my kitchen table with the recordings. I listened to all 14 hours, took notes, documented every admission, every mention of the guardianship plan, every piece of evidence. By evening, I had a timeline. Trevor had started planning this 6 months ago. Before my wife disappeared, he'd consulted with Ross, set up the LLC, prepared the divorce papers. Then my wife had found out, somehow, and she'd disappeared before he could trap her too. The question was where she went, and whether she was still alive. I searched her name again. Nothing new. Same old results. I searched the LLC Trevor had mentioned. Found it in the business registry. Redfield Holdings, registered 4 months ago. Officers, Trevor and Diane. I searched for property records. Found one, a house in another county, purchased 3 months ago. Cash sale, $200,000. Paid for with my money. I stared at the address. Small town, an hour away. The kind of place where nobody asks questions. Was that where my wife was? Hidden away in a house Trevor bought with stolen money? I copied the address, sent it to Daniel, then to Eddie. Eddie called 5 minutes later. You think she's there? He asked. I don't know, but it's suspicious. Want to check it out? When? Now, I'll drive. He picked me up 20 minutes later. We drove in silence, took the highway out of the city, past suburbs and strip malls and the bland sameness of American sprawl. The town was called Riverside, population 3,000, one main street, a few shops, a diner that looked closed. The house was on the edge of town, small ranch-style place, single story, detached garage, no cars visible. We parked down the street. Now what? He asked. I don't know. We sat there watching. The house looked empty. No lights, no movement. Could be a rental property, Eddie said. Investment. Or a hiding place. Only one way to find out. What, break in? You have a better idea? I looked at the house. Thought about my wife. About Trevor's comment. She knows. Yeah, I said. Let's go. Oh, we walked up the driveway. No doorbell. I knocked. Nothing. I knocked again. Harder. Still nothing. Eddie tried the door. Locked. Side window, he said. We went around. Found a window. Eddie cupped his hands against the glass. Looked inside. Kitchen. Empty. But there's stuff on the counter. Coffee maker. Dish soap. Someone's living here. Or was. We checked the other windows. All locked. All curtained. Back door, Eddie said. We found it. Also locked. But the wood was old. The frame warped. Eddie looked at me. You sure about this? No. Good. Me neither. He kicked the door. Once. Twice. On the third kick, it splintered. Swung open. We stepped inside. The house smelled stale, like someone had been there but left windows closed for weeks. We moved through the rooms, kitchen, living room, bathroom, one bedroom, empty. But in the bedroom, I found something. A suitcase, half-packed, women's clothes, my wife's perfume on the dresser. She'd been here, and then she'd left.